One of the greatest financial fears that we all live with is losing your house, or losing, if you rent, losing your possession, having a big loss due to fire or tornado or something like that. How do you protect yourself against that risk? I've got 3 ways coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Guys, I'm just going to be real with you right now. I'm recording this in advance for when it airs, and I found out this morning that a friend of mine lost his house last night in a house fire, and it's just occupying my mind. I reached out to him, said, I'm here for you. If there's anything you need, let me know. And he just texted me back. It took him a while, obviously, and just said, thanks, will do. And so, just awful. Apparently, so he's got a couple dogs. Apparently, the rumor is, we'll see what the fire department comes up with, but apparently one of the dogs goofing around, playing around, and bumped the stove. And I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but they did lose the dogs in the fire, which is awful, but at least everyone else was safe. I'm just thinking about this, and I got to tell you, so it's got me a little emotional, a little sad, and I'm thinking about their situation, their family, got a couple young kids, and there's nothing that you can do, there's nothing that I can do to prevent that completely. You live at risk of wherever you live, whether that's an apartment you rent, or a house you buy, or a condo, or whatever. We all have the risk that there could be a natural event that destroys the property, destroys the house, whether that be a tornado, whether it be a hurricane, whether it be a fire. We live with that risk. And so the question is, how do you have financial peace? How can you have financial peace even though that risk is ever present? And to me, that just, it deals with what protection, what steps do you have in place so that just in case, in the remote chance that something like that would happen to you, do you have the right steps in place? Have you taken the right precautions so that financially going through that would be awful, but you'd be able to manage, okay? I was thinking of my friend, and I don't know, it's a friend of mine, so I don't know financial situation, but I was thinking, I hope he's got these three components in place. The first is I would tell you to make sure that you have up-to-date home insurance coverage, home and auto, of course, because we could easily make this parallel to a car accident, but have updated home and auto insurance. I would review this with your insurance agent at least every other year. Every other year. You might say, well, that's way too much. I don't want to go see the gecko that frequently. Or, what, I just shop online. It's fine. I set it. I want to make sure I'm paying the least amount. And so I've set it up and I'm leaving it. I don't want to mess with it. Yeah, but guys, you're getting insurance for a reason. And my friend, I was texting with him earlier yesterday, and everything was fine. His life was normal, had no idea that this risk was going to all of a sudden present itself. And so that's not the time you want to question, wait, do I have the right coverage or not? So every year, our independent insurance agents reach out to all of our clients, send an update called a renewal questionnaire, because we're terrible marketers. We don't have a great name for it. We'll come up with something fancy later. But basically, it's just a questionnaire where you go through and say, did you make any changes? Blah, 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 okay? And that just allows your insurance agent to know, okay, based on that update and based on what I'm seeing within your policy, I think we're in good shape. But then I'm saying at least every other year, you should have a conversation with your agent or your financial advisor and say, all right, go through a replacement cost estimator. Are these values still appropriate for your overall financial life? Why every other year? Because something changes every other year? No, it's because that's frequent enough that things shouldn't get that far out of whack within a year or two, just in case at a moment's notice, all of a sudden, you face a claim. So work with your independent agent, make sure that your coverage is up to date. I would want you to communicate with your agent every time you have an update at least once a year, and review your coverage at least every other year. The second, and this one is obvious, the second sort of step or things to have in place to help protect yourself or prevent the financial damage from going through a house fire or a big, large house claim is an emergency fund. I have no idea their situation right now. My guess is an agent has shown up and got a check for them to help get them set up into an extended stay or hotel, something like that. And they can, instead of relying on their own finances, their agent, their homeowner's insurance agent is right there helping them cover immediate expenses. But guys, there are immediate expenses, whether that is just buying food or getting some clothes or getting into an apartment or house or something like that. I mean, there's going to be some immediate expenses. And if your insurance agent is right there and able to give you that check immediately, fantastic. But I wouldn't, to me, that would make That'd be stressful. I'd want to know that I've got my own first line of defense financially, that if an emergency happened, I can dip into my emergency fund and cover the necessary short-term expenses that would come up. So to me, this is a reason why, yeah, you're not getting paid anything on your emergency fund right now. It's earning nothing. Interest rates are just terrible. But this is why you don't have it at risk in the market. This is why you have it liquid. And this is why you haven't gotten too antsy with it and said, this money could be doing something else for me. I'll put it down to my house or something like that. No, keep that emergency fund intact just in case you need it at a moment's notice for these short-term expenses. If you don't have that intact, could you put it on credit card? Could you get some sort of short-term loan? Sure. But I wouldn't have that as your first line of defense. I wouldn't say that's the optimal way to handle or live with this sort of risk. And then the final thing that I would tell you to do if you're trying to have financial peace while being aware that these financial risks are out there is I would manage the amount of debt that you have. Make sure that you aren't overextended. Why? Because debt and debt payments, those are stubborn. You have to continue making them regardless of what happens in your financial life. So let's pretend that the house is insured for this, but you owe this much on it. Okay, well, that could be very problematic, especially as you are needing to rebuild and replace the property in your possessions. And so making sure that you've got some equity, some bandwidth there, gives you a little more comfort and peace of mind if you were to go through this. But second, like I said, debt payments, those are stubborn. You've got to make that debt payment, that credit card payment, that car loan payment, that mortgage payment, that home equity line payment, regardless of whether you just have gone through a huge upheaval in your financial life. Having a lot of debt makes you less nimble, less flexible. And when a house fire or a tornado whips through or something like that, you've got to be able to adapt and be nimble financially. And so the more debt you allow to take permanent residence in your financial life, the less nimble you'll be able to be when an emergency strikes or you're all of a sudden needing to reprioritize your finances. So to me, that's the thing. I mean, number one, in the face of having a huge house claim, you want to make sure that you've got the right protection in place. Work with your insurance agent and your CFP on that. And then second, make sure you've got a fully funded emergency fund and that you haven't already overextended yourself where your budget is too taxed, is too maxed out based on the debt that you're carrying. Work with your certified financial planner. Talk about contingencies. Talk about, well, hey, what if my house burned down financially? How would we, are we prepared for something like that? Work with your CFP on that. And if you don't have a CFP, you can contact one of ours, talk through that risk, make sure that you've got the right approach to your finances so that you could manage it effectively. It'd just be awful. I'm just thinking of my friend, his wife, the kid, it's just gonna be awful. But financially, hopefully they've got these three things in place and they can navigate through it. Hopefully you do as well. Work with your CFP. If you don't have one, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with a K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.